Luna's pockets were not just empty, they echoed with the ghosts of past due notices. Rent loomed, a hungry shadow at her door. Her tarot cards, usually a source of comfort, felt heavy with her own anxieties. Food was becoming a luxury item. Hope, she thought, was a brand she could no longer afford. She needed a miracle, or at least a paying gig. Any paying gig. The universe, it seemed, had a strange sense of humor when it came to answering prayers, especially those whispered over instant noodles. She found herself staring at the flickering bulb in her cramped apartment, wondering if divination could predict when the power might go out. The email arrived like a cryptic message from a trickster god. The Gilded Serpent Strip Club needed a tarot reader for their VIP lounge, for a séance. The pay was insultingly good. Too good. Luna read it twice, then a third time. A strip club. A séance. It sounded like the setup for a very bad joke, or a very strange Tuesday, but the numbers on the offer letter sang a siren song to her depleted bank account. Desperation, she decided, was an excellent motivator for broadening one's professional horizons. She typed her acceptance before common sense could stage a proper intervention. After all, spirits were spirits, whether in a dusty attic or a room full of glitter. The Gilded Serpent assaulted the senses. It was a cathedral built to the gods of cheap thrills and expensive champagne. Neon lights pulsed with a frantic, artificial heartbeat. The air thrummed with bass you could feel in your teeth. It smelled of synthetic cherry, stale beer, and the faint, metallic tang of regret. Luna clutched her tarot deck like a shield. This was a long way from her quiet little reading room. The bouncer, a mountain of a man named Tiny, grunted her towards a staircase shimmering with too much gold paint. He didn't look like he believed in ghosts. He looked like he ate them for breakfast. The VIP lounge was an exercise in opulent bad taste. Plush red velvet covered every surface that wasn't chrome or mirror. The poles gleamed under spotlights, silent and waiting. It was quieter up here, but the silence was heavy. It felt like holding your breath. An unspoken tension filled the room, a strange counterpoint to the distant thumping of the music from downstairs. Luna shivered, though the room was warm. It was the kind of chill that didn't come from a draft. It came from somewhere else, somewhere old, somewhere watching. She wondered if the previous tarot reader had run screaming. It was a distinct possibility. Luna carefully spread her velvet cloth on a small glass-topped table. Her worn rider-waite deck looked out of place. It was an antique guest at a very modern, very loud party. The contrast was almost comical, her sacred tools amidst the profane gleam of the lounge. She took a deep breath, trying to center herself. The air, however, refused to cooperate. It remained thick with unspoken stories and the lingering scent of too many colognes. This was not a place for quiet contemplation. It was a place for transactions, earthly and perhaps otherwise. She tried to ignore the faint buzzing sound that wasn't coming from any visible electronic device. The first indication that she wasn't alone, aside from the club manager fidgeting in the corner, was a whisper. It seemed to slither out from the mirrored panels lining the walls. Not a voice exactly, more like the rustle of old paper, or the sigh of someone very, very tired. Luna glanced at the mirrors. Her own reflection looked back, pale and slightly unnerved. The manager, Sal, didn't seem to notice. He was too busy sweating through his silk shirt. The whispers grew, a chorus of faint, indistinguishable words. They felt like cobwebs brushing against her ears, insubstantial, yet undeniably there. Then things escalated. A single, abandoned stiletto, encrusted with rhinestones, suddenly lifted from the carpet. It hovered for a moment, wobbled, then began to twirl slowly in mid-air, as if an invisible dancer was still wearing it. Sal yelped, a small, strangled sound. Luna just watched. This was new. As the shoe clattered back to the floor, a dry, raspy voice spoke, seemingly from the ceiling. "Buy Bitcoin," it advised. "The dip is temporary. Trust me on this." Luna blinked. Ghosts giving financial advice? This was definitely not in any of her tarot textbooks. This was beyond strange. The hauntings continued, each one more bizarre than the last. The temperature in the room would plummet, then soar. The heavy velvet curtains billowed as if a gale was blowing, though the windows were sealed. Disembodied voices argued about market trends. One particularly grumpy spirit complained about the club's watered-down top-shelf liquor. They weren't the moaning, chain-rattling spooks of law. These ghosts were opinionated. They were demanding. They seemed to be critics, investors, and disgruntled customers all rolled into one spectral package. Luna began to suspect this séance was going to be less about contacting lost loved ones and more about an otherworldly business consultation. Sal, looking even more stressed, finally spilled the beans. Or perhaps the spirits whispered it to him with enough insistence. "The club," he stammered, wiping his brow. "It's built on complicated ground." He explained that the site had a layered history. First, an ancient burial ground, disturbed and disrespected. Later, a grandiose bank that had collapsed in scandal during a financial crash, its vaults supposedly still holding secrets. Then, a series of failed, flashy businesses. It was, in essence, a magnet for bad luck and lingering energies. The very foundations were soaked in ambition, loss, and the ghosts of shattered dreams. The spirits haunting the gilded serpent weren't your average spectres. They were the remnants of entrepreneurs, con artists, and high rollers from various eras. Men and women who had lived and died by the thrill of the deal. The club, with its constant flow of cash, its desperate hopes and fleeting pleasures, was like a beacon to them. It resonated with their own earthly obsessions. They were drawn to the energy of commerce, the scent of money changing hands, the silent prayers for a jackpot or a lucky night. They were, in their own way, still trying to play the game, even from beyond the veil. They weren't actively malevolent, these ghosts, not in the traditional sense. They were more like spectral hecklers or unsolicited consultants. During Luna's attempts to conduct a proper séance, they'd interrupt with stock tips. They'd offer critiques of the club's marketing strategy. One spirit, who claimed to be a 1920s flapper, kept trying to teach the current dancers authentic Charleston moves. Their comments were often surprisingly astute, albeit delivered with a ghostly chill and an air of profound disappointment in modern fiscal policy. They lamented the fall of the gold standard. They debated the merits of NFTs. Luna found herself in a peculiar position. She was meant to be the conduit, the reader of fortunes. Instead, she became an audience, an unwilling student in a masterclass of spectral economics. The spirits argued over interest rates from the 1890s. They reminisced about legendary poker games. They offered surprisingly detailed advice on tax evasion, though Luna wasn't sure how that translated across the mortal coil. It was chaotic, it was unnerving, but amidst the spectral cacophony, a strange sort of understanding began to form. These weren't just ghosts, they were echoes of eternal human desires. An idea sparked in Luna's mind, as bright and garish as the club's neon sign. It was audacious. It was probably unethical. It was, she thought, perfect. She decided to lean into the madness. If the spirits wanted to talk capitalism, she'd give them a platform. She started a new segment on her modest OnlyFans page, Séance and Stocks. She'd set up her camera in the VIP lounge. Sal was strangely amenable, probably hoping it would appease the otherworldly shareholders and channel their bizarre financial pronouncements alongside her tarot readings. She marketed it as exclusive insights from the spectral speculators. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Her subscriber numbers shot through the roof. People were fascinated. Some were skeptical, of course, but many were intrigued by the sheer novelty. The Whispers from the Wall Street Beyond segment became a viral hit. Her followers loved the eerie ambience, the disembodied voices occasionally interrupting her card pools with urgent advice about cryptocurrency futures or the commodities market. The fact that some of the spectral tips actually panned out only fueled the frenzy. Luna's DMs were flooded with requests for private consultations with her board of ghostly advisors. The spirits, much to Luna's surprise, seemed to enjoy their newfound digital fame. They became more performative. A spectral hand might dramatically flip a tarot card, Cold spots would conveniently manifest behind Luna for added atmospheric effect during her live streams. They seemed to relish the attention, the vicarious thrill of participating in the modern marketplace they so clearly missed. Their financial commentary became sharper, their pronouncements more theatrical. Sal even reported that the club's mysterious electrical issues had lessened. Perhaps the ghosts were too busy managing their ethereal portfolios. Luna became a minor internet celebrity, the crypto clairvoyant, the Nasdaq necromancer. Her tagline, splashed across her increasingly popular social media, was simple and effective. Dead men tell no lies, but they do spill tea. The real twist, however, was something Luna only pieced together later, through fragmented whispers and cryptic tarot spreads. The spirits weren't just obsessed with capitalism for its own sake. They were collectively trying to amass enough positive ethereal capital through her success. They were attempting to pay off an ancient, spectral debt, a cosmic IOU left by the cursed ground itself. Her OnlyFans wasn't just entertainment, it was their otherworldly initial public offering.